Welcome once again to the Proclaim podcast. My name is Eric. I'm the director for Proclaim. If you're new to the podcast and to the movement, Proclaim is a movement of the Archdiocese of Vancouver with its mission to awaken disciples to proclaim Jesus in our homes and in our communities. And here at the podcast, we have the privilege of bringing in guests, both local and international, I'd say, to share some insights in the area of evangelization and discipleship formation, and to hear some stories of formation and stories of mission. So I am so privileged to have a friend and a colleague in Sue Coutant, who's joined us for the episode today. Sue, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Eric. I'm so pleased to be here.
Yeah. Why don't you introduce yourself to our Proclaim listeners, then we're going to get into it.
Very good. I am Sue, and I am a wife of 34 years, and I am a mother to 4 adult children. And I started working at the Archdiocese 3 years ago. And it's been a very wild trajectory. I had no idea that God had this in store for me. And I've just been learning and growing as a disciple ever since. And I just look forward to our conversation today.
Something that I admire about you, Sue, is your faithfulness and love for Jesus and how you desire to want to share that with others, which we're going to get into. But before we do that, I'd love to hear about your first impressions of the Proclaim movement, because we knew each other before that. And then, of course, we've come to know each other not only in working relationships, but in also just sharing each other's lives and hearing about how our missionary discipleship has developed and formed over the years. But what was your first impression of the Proclaim movement?
Right. It came on the heels of listening to Father James Mallon at the One Conference.
Okay.
And in 2018. And during that conference, something happened to me. Something awakened in me. And I had this sense of urgency to go and talk about Jesus to everyone I could meet. And shortly after that, a colleague and I at our parish decided to put on Alpha.
Okay.
And so Proclaim was in its inception. And so you were able to help us to put that on. I felt so supported, and Alpha Canada came in and also helped us. But I really had this sense of mission. It's like, wow, I have something to do and I need to get this done like right now. And so we very quickly hammered together an Alpha team. 120 guests showed up on the first night.
Right.
And I was just in over my head.
Okay.
But I really felt backed by this structure.
Yeah. That
is Proclaim. Even though I didn't really have a lot of tools myself, I didn't feel equipped. You kept encouraging me to just do it. And I found volunteers, and the people came. We put on 3 alphas and then faith studies after that. Mm-hmm. So the Proclaim movement, again, it felt like a structure that I could count on. In you, Alpha Canada came in. CCO was a huge help. So all of these partners, I didn't feel alone.
Yeah.
So I was really grateful for the just the support and the encouragement, and we were able to bring this good news to so many people at my parish.
Yeah. Part of why Proclaim was launched was certainly to awaken disciples to proclaim Jesus, and it wasn't because we weren't seeing that was already happening in communities and in individuals, and you were an example of that, having been part of a parish community for decades, I'd say. And you've had various involvements with other ministries that have helped foster relationships in marriage, and so you've been part of direct ministry in the parishes. But we wanted to begin to put a rally cry behind the missionary dimension of the church to proclaim Jesus. And I think the timing was really the Holy Spirit that was timing everything, and so privileged that we were able to help you with some of your missionary efforts.
So good. It was so good. You're right. Our previous ministry with my husband, we had been a lot involved in marriage ministry, and so that was more relational.
Yes.
And so we already had this background of building trust with couples, meeting them where they were at, helping them just navigate the ups and downs of married life.
Yep.
And so that's where our experience was. And so this really helped me pivot. That experience helped me pivot to how I could serve God's people in a more evangelistic way.
Right.
And so that prior history continues to serve me very well today.
Yeah. You mentioned that you were able to partner with Alpha and with CCO, which are also partners of Proclaim, and we're so grateful for all of the resources and the friendship and the collaboration that they have offered here in the Archdiocese. One of the resources that CCO has offered in Vancouver, and I'd say Proclaim has expanded on that and has continued to support that, is in the art of accompaniment. And based on what you shared with your previous ministry experience, relationship and accompaniment was you're not a stranger to that aspect and that the important part of relationships in ministry. But you learned a few things around some of the accompaniment training that Proclaim and CCO offered. Could you share a little bit about the intentional accompaniment model and some of the things that you learned and some of the things that really helped you in your bringing the evangelistic sort of character within your ministry and within your relationships?
Right.
Yeah.
So many doors and windows seemed to close during COVID.
Yeah.
But CCO, in a matter of a heartbeat, was offering online intentional accompaniment classes. And I'm like, I am so there.
Okay.
And I remember attending, figuring out how to work Zoom. I had no idea what Zoom even was. And so just, and learning from the giants, some of the giants of CCO, like Amber, Zolk, and Michael Hall. And just, I thought, wow, I've been doing this all my life, but now it has a name, accompaniment. And it was really, I learned the how of evangelization. I recognized that I was really ill-equipped. It wasn't really enough just to love Jesus. I also needed to know how to proclaim him, where to meet people where they were at, how to build trust, how to marry the two sides of the coin of mission and holiness. All of these aspects just opened, again, another huge area of my life that I had no idea existed. But it really gave me the how. How can I do this? How can I, not just know about Jesus, and also at the time I was studying theology at St. Mark's College.
Right.
And so I was getting all of this information, but that wasn't enough. And at the end of my degree, I had an opportunity to choose a field placement, and it had to be a hands-on project to how we were living out theology in the Archdiocese.
Okay.
And that's when I approached you.
Yeah.
And I said, Eric, I would love to bring intentional accompaniment to parishes, parish leaders, parish groups, parish ministries. And you were so gracious and were able to offer me this opportunity. So for a year, I had to intentionally seek out and promote intentional accompaniment to different parish groups.
Okay.
And made some mistakes along the way.
Yep.
We had some little bumps and misses, but that's all part of it. And I learned so much about my own gaps that were still missing in my own evangelization life. But also I could see the lay of the land and what was happening out there in parish ministries. But I had a very, very good experience to be able to learn about accompaniment, but then teach others, equip others. And this has been such a huge part of Proclaim in equipping disciples. Because it's one thing to see somebody doing it well, but it's another thing to say, let's teach you how to do this. Yeah,
that's a common question that we get in interacting with individuals in parishes and in communities when they come and ask some questions of Proclaim, like, how do I get the skills of evangelization? They've encountered the Lord. They know they want to share him with others. And then some of the big barriers would be, how do I invite them? How do I engage in conversations? How do I take on this art of accompaniment, this intentionality that is presented, and the opportunities are all around us. And sometimes we feel stuck because we don't have the skills to engage. I want to go back to a few things that you said, because you said a lot in that,
I
in that
know.
part. We're going to unpack some of that, but I want to go back to something that you said, which is that I was gracious to work with you in that, in your field-based project. I also just want to say you were an answer to a need, which is the desire for people and communities to want to learn this art of accompaniment in evangelization. And so when you approached me and said, hey, I've got this project, I'm part of the master's program at St. Mark's, it was just, I think, a perfect blending of felt need and giftedness and interest and passion that you had, that you brought to the table. And I think all of that allowed for the Spirit to move. Yeah. And certainly I learned a lot, and you learned a lot. Yes. But before we jump into the accompaniment class that was the main part of your field-based project, tell us about why you went back to school, why you pursued a master's in theology. Right. Yeah.
I'm a creative.
Is it Masters of Theology, or was it a Master of Arts?
Yeah, Master of Arts in Pastoral Studies.
Yes, right.
Pastoral Studies. Right. A lot of people don't know what that means. So for people who are less
just unaware,
knowledgeable, I just say theology.
Yeah.
But it's pastoral studies.
Yes.
Yeah. So we really focus on the pastoral aspect of how to serve God's people.
Yes.
We have all of the same classes as the theology students. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. They had to do a thesis. We had to do a field placement.
Yes.
So it's very, very similar. Yeah. Ours is much more hands-on.
Okay.
Little plug there.
A little plug for St. Mark's. A little plug to encourage further education. I'm really glad that we're bringing this up, because often what we communicate in Proclaim is the need to go out and to proclaim Jesus in our homes and in our communities. And we'll often reference a couple of quotes from Pope Francis and Evangelii Gaudium. That's kind of like Proclaim's textbook, where he talks about how each of us are called to be missionary disciples based on our encounter with the Lord. And he goes on to say you don't need much lengthy training or formation to go out. And he references the Samaritan woman who encountered Jesus at the well and then went to the city and said, I've met the Messiah. And at the same time, we do need to have institutions of formation and individuals who see their work and their work in the church from a ministerial standpoint, like the lay people, they need to also have opportunities for further formation in order to serve the church and her people well. Yes. So I think you're an example of someone who, was encountered by the Lord and said, we got to go out. Father James Mallon at the conference said, we need to get out there, we need to proclaim. And at the same time, you felt a call to also form yourself well. You
said it so well, Eric. So I'm a cradle Catholic, but I encountered the Lord in 2001. Okay. So that's when my conversion was. Yeah. And so God never encounters us without then giving us a mission. Yeah. And so for whatever reason, I felt really ill-equipped after that. And I just had it on my heart that I wanted to pursue study. I love academia. I'm a student at heart. I'm a teacher at heart. And so there was this desire to learn more about what it meant to be Catholic, what it meant, this great tradition that is behind us. There's so much to know, and I just knew nothing, or felt like I knew nothing. And we lived far away. We didn't live in Vancouver at the time, and I was raising 4 kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and there was no way I was ever going to get to St. Mark's College. And then we moved. Okay. We moved 15 years ago. We moved closer to the city,
the kids
all
got
of a sudden,
older and more independent.
All of a sudden, there was this opportunity, and so I just jumped in with both feet. And I cannot stress enough what a wonderful experience it was to grapple with and chew on the basics of our faith and why we believe what we believe. And to also at times be challenged with the teachings and the traditions. Great professors. I had great professors at St. Mark's, and there was no wrong questions. There were no wrong. We were never shut down for even questioning some of the things that we believe in. Yep. And so it was a very freeing place to be. Yeah. Yeah. Very free. I had to relearn how to write an essay. It took a while. Yeah. I showed my first essay to my son, who was in university at the time, and he said, "Mom, you don't even have a thesis statement." I'm like, "What is that?" So I had to relearn, and relearn I did, and having permissions to ask bigger questions and questions that
could challenge even some of our original or what might be solid thinking in terms of what we believe, could also strengthen our understanding and strengthen our faith when done in the right context and environment. And I think that's really important. And as you would have learned, I think not only in the field-based project, but in general in ministry, we have to also be able to allow for others to ask the big questions with where they're at, and to be able to hold in tension some of the things that we might think and believe with what they might be thinking and believing, in order to grow relationship, invite encounters to be possible. Right. And without the ability to ask questions, we wouldn't be able to discover ourselves and our relationship with others and our relationship with God. So,
right. And to be a credible witness, when you're asked a question, it's good to have the answer.
Yeah.
It's good to say, let me get back to you on that. I need to go check that out.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, the word apologetics came out, needing to have a backup for the reason why we believe what we believe.
Yeah.
And I had that strong desire to be able to answer people when they had questions.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I couldn't give them what I didn't have.
Yes.
And so I needed to buff up.
Yeah.
Buck up. I needed to get better at knowing what I didn't know.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Questions are a huge part of the Accompaniment Masterclass that you were privileged to be part of in your field-based project. So tell us a little bit more. I know you started telling us, but tell us a bit more about what is intentional accompaniment as CCO's model of accompaniment. How did that apply to the masterclass that you were able to offer, and then some of the fruits and learnings that came of it? Yes.
Evangelization takes skill.
Okay.
And so we're not all born to be evangelizers. And when we hear go and make disciples, a lot of people cower at that. It's like, how do I start?
Right.
And so accompaniment model offers sort of a field map of how to go about it.
Yep.
And the basis of all accompaniment, of all relationship, is trust. Mm-hmm. Whether it's with your husband or your children or your in-laws or your coworkers, or even the grocer that you see every week that you buy bananas from, right? It's really about trust. Can I trust this person? And you get to trust someone when you get to find out who they are, when you ask questions about their life, what is important to you, where are you struggling? And so it wasn't enough for me just to love Jesus. I needed to also build relational trust with people. Yeah. Like I said, we had some experience in our marriage ministry, but accompaniment just built on it, because the goal of accompaniment is not just to be somebody's friend, but it's really to bring someone to encounter Jesus Christ.
Yes.
This is the goal of accompaniment. And I always started the masterclass by saying that. You have a goal. There is the end in sight. Now, will we ever get to see that goal realized? Perhaps not.
Yeah.
But that is the end goal, is that so that you can bring someone to Jesus Christ. Yeah. So it has a very definite path. Some people in your lifetime, it might not happen in your lifetime.
Yep.
So evangelization also takes a lot of patience, because we want to see results. We're a result-driven society. But guess who's in charge of the results? Not me.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. God is in charge of results. And it has to also do with the openness of the other person. And so building relational trust before talking about Jesus, knowing when to pull the trigger, talking about Jesus. This is very important. I have done many missteps where I have pushed people away because I've pulled the trigger too quickly. So this is also, accompaniment is also about gauging and deciding when it is a good time to bring in the name Jesus. Because people will take a long time, some more than others, to be able to get there. And the way you gauge that is by the questions that they ask.
Right.
If they are asking questions, wow, that is an open door. That is an open door. And you must walk down it. You must walk down it. Courage. We pray for courage in evangelization, because sometimes it feels a little dicey. But if they start asking questions, that's when you start answering them. And something I've really grasped onto the last little bit is don't answer questions that they're not asking yet.
Yeah.
Archbishop Smith said that in a homily not long ago.
Yeah.
And it's really important to not make them drink out of the fire hose.
Right.
Because I sometimes can be like the fire hose. When my husband asks me a question about theology, I'll say, do you want the 1 minute answer or the 5 minute answer?
Sure.
And he always says, Sue, the 1 minute answer. So
Okay.
I love to talk about this, but I am
Yeah.
aware that for some people it can be a bit overwhelming. So
Yeah.
take the cue from the person that you're accompanying.
Yeah.
That is the best
Yeah.
indicator.
Yeah, and sometimes there's underlying questions behind the question that they're asking.
Right.
And so if we don't take the time to understand
Right.
that, which takes time and relationship building and such, then we, even if the direct questions are coming forward, we still may not be answering what is deep in their heart
Right.
and what is
Right.
what is stirring within them. Because we all have our own world in our own heads.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
And we see things differently.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. To be ready with those answers. An example comes to mind of a woman who was divorced, and she wanted to know if she could receive communion.
Right.
And I said, absolutely.
Okay.
She said, what? You mean it's allowed? And so there's a lot of misconceptions out there
Okay.
that we can also, by accompanying others, we can debunk some of these myths that are out there about the Catholic Church.
Right. Yeah. And you would have known her context. And you would have known
Absolutely.
her story. And so you had confidence to be able to respond in that way.
Yes.
And that can't be just like a blanketed sort of black and white answer if we don't know people's story.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And so I consider her a friend. And so that also helped us engage in a conversation about divorce. What
Yes.
does God say about it? And how can the church heal that? We talked about annulments and what that process looks like.
Yeah.
In case she does ever get into another relationship.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So the church doesn't say do whatever you want. There are parameters around sacraments
Yes.
for a good reason. But this conversation allowed us to, because of trust, allowed us to sort of go down that path. And she knows that she can go there with me.
Yeah.
Because she trusts me.
Yeah. And what you said earlier about helping or leading in the masterclass, the accompaniment masterclass, leading with the aim of this accompaniment is to lead them to Jesus. You know that while you might be guiding them in their context, right? This example with a woman who's divorced, you also want to guide them into further relationship with Jesus, so that regardless of the outcomes of the different circumstances in their lives, Jesus is still the way, the truth, and the life, and the answer to the deepest questions that we have in our hearts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the big win that
Yeah.
came out of accompaniment. And I talked to you about this at length, Eric, was that as I was teaching them how to do accompaniment with others, the question was being turned on to them. It's like, wait a minute, I'm teaching them about Jesus. Do I know Jesus?
Yeah.
Do I have a relationship with him? Do I pay attention to him? Is he a part of my life? Am I a true disciple? Discipleship isn't something that you put on in the morning like your coat, right? It's your identity. I'm a wife and a mother. I'd never take that coat off. I am 24/7. And so a lot of people got challenged by this question. It's like, I'm supposed to talk about Jesus? I don't know him very well. And so this was a huge eye-opening experience. Some people ran away from that.
Okay.
They weren't ready. Some people embraced it.
Okay.
And said, oh my gosh, this is a chance for me to grow. And so I remember coming to you during the field placement saying, Eric, we're hitting a glitch. You know, a lot of these people I don't think they're disciples, even though they have this desire to be disciples,
Right.
you know, and you just kept encouraging me. But quite a few of them did embrace this. It was their own calling as well to, by me offering the class, it also challenged them to be better disciples.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw how you had presented and created the content for the masterclasses. And one of the pieces of your content was Kerygma.
Yes.
And
yes.
you walked through the Kerygma and you walked through that initial proclamation and the need to invite someone to make a commitment.
Right.
And this is, with the mindset that you're helping people guide others into this meaningful relationship with Jesus, which starts with a first proclamation, then a commitment to be a disciple. And at the same time, you're kind of also influencing and causing the questions of individuals who are in there. And it in that way, not only are the questions coming up internally around self-awareness, am I really a disciple?
Yes.
Do I know Jesus well? But you've also presented a path forward for them, which is to say, oh, maybe I do need to make a heartfelt personal commitment and a decision to accept Jesus as Lord and Savior and to become his disciple. And I think you even had a couple of experiences, or an experience of someone who came back after the class and said, I made a call.
Right. Yeah.
I committed myself. Yeah.
Two stories. One is the fifth session of the first Discovery series, when you, one-on-one, you ask the participant, do you want to give your life to Jesus?
Yes.
Do you want to put him at the center of your life? I had a woman, a 50-year-old woman, weep because she said, I've never been asked this question. Mm-hmm. And she was moved to tears because she realized that this was an invitation for her and that she was in the driver's seat.
Right.
And so it wasn't just a given. And the other story is the woman who during Masterclass sat with her arms crossed and just kept shaking her head saying, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And she had an experience one day. She was the Eucharistic minister, a sacristan that Sunday. And she was opening the tabernacle with the key for some reason. And all of a sudden, and she emailed me the day after and said, Sue, I get it. Because she was having trouble opening the door of the tabernacle.
Okay.
And she couldn't get Jesus out. And so she was starting to panic. And then when she started calming down, she said a little prayer. And then finally she got the key open. She said, I get it. Accompaniment is about letting Jesus out. And she had this aha moment. And so we were just rejoicing together because God found a way in with her.
Yeah, that's so good.
And I remember her emailing me saying, Sue, I get it now. God's inside me. He lives in me. And evangelization is about sharing him with the world.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. This woman who was so hard-hearted for the whole sessions, the 6 sessions.
Yeah.
And then this instance at the tabernacle helped her see.
Yeah. I hope this is an encouragement to our Proclaim listeners who are in the trenches.
Yes.
And they are working towards greater moments of accompaniment, or they're running ministry and programs that are aimed at the proclamation of the gospel, and they may not be discovering or seeing fruit in their work, or they're tired, or they're toiling, or whatever it might be. And Jesus in a moment, and we know this, right? The principal agent of evangelization is the Holy Spirit. In a moment, can open eyes, break down walls, enter into people's hearts, and capture them in such a way that provides freedom and peace and joy and invitations to make beautiful commitments. Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm going to put a little plug in here to our Proclaim listeners. If your parish or community would like to take on an Accompaniment Masterclass, we continue to offer them, particularly in the community that you are in. That was something that we discovered and learned through our work in the Field-Based Project, that we don't want to just promote it outwardly and then see who comes. The best way of learning and forming and discovering our capacity to accompany others is when we do it with our community and people that we are with and people that we are accompanying directly.
Yes. I did a masterclass for RCIA leaders. Mm-hmm. It was very good.
Yeah.
They were all on board, and all of them said, I wish my team were here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the next round, we changed it up.
Yeah.
And so it was such a huge learning experience.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that Proclaim is still offering these masterclasses. And they're being tweaked as they go, right?
Yes.
As we learn, as you know, as the Lord, as we continue in his work, things change and evolve. You know, our basic tenets of the faith do not change. But the way that we do mission can evolve to meet the needs of the people we have in front of us.
Yeah.
Right? To meet them where they're at, to speak their language, to go at their pace. All of those things are so important. Thou shalt not be a bulldozer.
That's good.
in evangelization.
That's good. I want to ask you now about the current work that you're doing with Ministries and
Yes,
Outreach, and in particular
yes.
with marriage and family.
Yes.
So you've completed your master's. You have extensive parish ministry experience. You've taught accompaniment and have lived out evangelization, and have also helped others live out evangelization. And now you're doing work with marriage and family. Yes. Tell us about that.
Yes.
Tell us about what you do, and then I'll ask some questions around how the opportunities for mission and proclamation that you see.
Very good. I coordinate now the marriage formation program at the RCAV. So 98% of our couples go through marriage formation with us. Over 600 couples get married in this archdiocese every year.
Yeah.
So they are coming to the church for a sacrament. And so we take that opportunity and really try and use it as an evangelization tool.
Right.
Many of them are marrying non-Catholics,
Okay.
so we have to be very sensitive to that. Many who are marrying are not engaged; they are disengaged. So by them coming to us, we are showing them that their decision is good.
Yeah.
Thank you for deciding to marry in the church. So we meet them there. We, instead of saying all the things that they're doing wrong,
Yeah.
we say thank you for getting married in the church.
This
number
is
one.
trust building.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then from there we say, let us over the next few weeks tell you why your decision is good.
Okay.
And so then we walk them through not only skills like good communication, good conflict resolution, and how to do finance in marriage, but also what God's plan is for your marriage, why God has a plan for your marriage. What is that plan? With you as a couple, with you as a family, in your sexuality, all of these areas of marriage that can be very broken and very painful at times, but that God, when you enter a sacramental marriage, He's going to meet you there. He's going to be there for you. He is going to be the third in your marriage. So it has... When I took on this job, Eric, I had to let go of the intentional accompaniment masterclasses because I just did not have the time, just did not have the bandwidth to do everything. And I was so sad. I'm like, wow, Lord, you're making me choose. This is so hard. But again, God has opened this door to be able to meet these couples where they're at and to really accompany them. So I've tweaked the accompaniment model, Eric, because now we meet these couples as a group, but also one-on-one.
Yeah.
They do a relationship inventory. And so we meet with them one-on-one and talk specifically about their relationship. They love that part of marriage formation.
Yeah.
And so we get to accompany them. We get to talk about, how are you doing in your faith journey? As a non-Catholic, how are you going to be supporting your Catholic spouse in marriage? So we really challenge them as well because, like I say to them, you have to know what you're saying yes to when you make your vows in front of God in the church, right? The other way that we accompany them is by offering them mentorship. So mentorship is we're going 6 years into this mentorship project. We pair the couple preparing for marriage with an older, more experienced Catholic couple. And so now we have this relationship that is being built because we cannot accompany everyone. We need many workers in the vineyard. And so mentorship is genius because we pull in all of these imperfect couples, I am one of them, to be able to share their ups and downs, their joys, their sorrows, their advice with a younger couple.
Right.
We tell them one of the best ways to learn about marriage is from another married couples. The other added advantage of mentorship is that it keeps them connected to a couple, but also to the church indirectly. Because a lot of our couples, after they marry, they fly the coop. And so we say, no, we want you to, you're part of our herd.
Yeah.
You're part of our barn, and we want you to stay here. We care about you.
Yeah.
We care about your marriage. We care about your family. And so mentorship helps us do that. And we have seen so many wonderful fruits from mentorship. Mentor couples tell us all the time, meeting with a couple helps us be better.
Yeah.
Husband and a better wife.
Yeah.
And this is such an important part of building the church.
Yeah.
So they can go out and evangelize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine that in all of these relationships and interactions and moments for formation and self-discovery and discovery of your partner, it opens the door of individuals' hearts to be more receptive to the proclamation of the gospel.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think we can see that there is a witness of goodness that is on display, and we know the source of that goodness comes from the Lord. And when we can have a witness of faith, of faithful couples that are demonstrating a way forward in marriage, that again sows the seed or tills the soil to allow for the seed of proclamation to occur.
Yes. And the accompaniment model is widening because we're telling them that you are not alone.
Yeah.
In marriage, you are not alone. You have the church to support you, behind you, your parish. That's what a parish is. It's your church family.
Yeah.
And so we encourage couples to be part of that support network through their mentor couple, through the priest, through other couples that they're meeting and families at Mass or the pancake breakfast. We're encouraging this larger accompaniment model so that these couples don't feel alone. A third of our couples have lived in Vancouver 5 years or less.
Okay.
And so they do not have ties here. So they are struggling for connection and support. And we are worried that they're going to get isolated and that they'll feel alone. And guess what? That's when marriages break up.
Yep.
And so we're encouraging them to stay connected to the church community. We're providing this accompaniment, this bigger accompaniment that is the church. That is the church. We are here for you. We care about you. We have hope for you. You are the present and the future of the church.
Yeah.
And so it gives us great hope when couples say yes to mentorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know your team, and I know the content and the formation, the desire that you want to offer to these new couples, and something that I know that you certainly don't skirt around or avoid is that trials do come up in marriage, and that we cannot, or the ideal marriage or like maturity in marriage isn't about avoiding or learning how to avoid and stay away from moments of suffering and moments of self-gift and moments of trial and challenges, but really how do we engage with those when they do come up, and how do we mature in our own capacity to be a gift for others, a gift not only for our partners, spouses, but a gift for others, which really is where the invitation to be part of parish communities come in.
Yes.
And ultimately, that is all modeled after the Lord Jesus himself, who offered himself for us. I think that anytime we have the opportunity to help people in the art of accompaniment that could lead to proclamation, we also should include our capacity and our maturity to be a self-gift for others, because I think that's what formation is really about, to become more like Jesus. And if we want to become more like Jesus, then we should be learning how to be a self-gift for others, even when it hurts.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's coming up for me right now is a quote from Father Ricardo,
Yeah.
who very famously says, Jesus doesn't love y'all. He loves you. He loves me.
Yeah.
And in accompaniment, it's very important not to see the greater crowd, but to see the person.
Yes.
And so my husband and I are a mentor couple for a couple, and we see them, and we pay attention to them as a couple. And we've stayed connected with them over the last 5 years. They came to visit us last weekend with their little 4-year-old daughter,
Wow.
and they share with us and ask for advice. And we pour ourselves out to them. My husband and I, we really care about them.
Yeah.
And so this is an opportunity for all married couples you don't need to find 10 couples. You just need actually just to find one couple to become friends with and to walk alongside with.
Yeah.
It's personal. Your presence matters. Jesus, he didn't see the huge crowds and say, I love you all. He saw the heart of every single person that he met, which is why it was so compelling to be in a relationship with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's so neat to be able to hear your story in a kind of not a general way, because I know there's a lot more detail, and I've heard some of the details of your story, but the thread and the movement of how God has encountered you over time, first starting with your adults conversion in 2001, and then your time in marriage ministry with your husband Pascal, and then your time with CCO and Proclaim and the Accompaniment Masterclass, and it's come full circle, and you're back in marriage ministry in another way, now helping mentor couples and helping new couples, and in your formation and in your desire to want to proclaim Jesus. I think what has really stood out for me in this conversation has been that you have really discovered your mission territory and the places and the spaces where God is inviting you to be a meaningful witness and a bold proclaimer of the gospel. Now, I'm going to take one last sort of area of conversation. I know I asked you to prepare some of this, and this is more personal, like, I want to call you like the West Coast Express train evangelist, because you don't live near the pastoral center where we work, and you take the West Coast Express, the train that comes in, and your office is right beside mine, and oftentimes I will hear you just come in and just share a story. And it's a story of encountering a stranger, someone who's reading a book or whatever it is, and somehow you find a way to find out about what they're reading, a little bit about their life, and open the opportunity for the proclamation of the gospel and a witness. So tell us about your West Coast Express experiences and evangelization and all that.
Every day when I wake up, I pray that God will put me on the path of somebody that I need to talk to.
Okay.
So that's how the day starts. And I never know how it's going to end up. So I just have 3 stories I want to share with you. One story actually happened off the West Coast. I now take the SkyTrain to come up Cambie.
Yep.
And noticed one fellow reading a book, young man, and it was called Death, the End.
Okay.
And I was just so intrigued. I just couldn't help myself. And so I just caught his eye and I said, "Hey, how's that book?" And he's like, "Wow, it's so awesome, but I'm really having trouble with it." I'm like, "Well, tell me more." So he was telling me that he doesn't want to believe that actually death is just the end of everything. Oh my gosh. I just saw that as a huge opportunity, and I just bounced the question back to him. I said, "Maybe we were never supposed to die." And he is like, his eyes got big. And so we had this conversation about eternity and about how everything that we see here maybe is not everything that there is in reality.
Sure.
And so we had this 10-minute, it was a 10-minute conversation. And very quickly we went very deep. And I left him hopefully with some hope that death is not the end. And to explore, I said, explore this possibility that the Christian religion does offer this hope in eternal life.
Yep.
After death. And so I said, now go and explore that. I didn't have time to
I'm late for a meeting.
Yeah, I didn't have time for a meeting.
Yeah.
But it was a 10-minute conversation, and I'll just always remember that young man, and I still actually pray for him.
Amazing. Yeah. There's an alpha up the road.
That's right. The next story did happen recently on the West Coast Express, and there just happened to be a free seat across from a very elderly man dressed in a huge black robe with a Cossack-type black hat.
Okay.
With a cross on it.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, wow, I got to sit there. And so I sat down and I said hello, and he looked like he could have lived in Jesus' time. He had a huge beard, And I said, "Excuse me, but I'm just curious." I said, "Are you from the Orthodox Church?"
Right.
And he said, "Yes, I'm a priest in the Greek Orthodox Church." Well, for the next 25 minutes, we had such a rich conversation on our similarities and differences. And what, we have way more similarities than differences.
Of course.
And we just had it was so delightful to learn about the tradition. I don't know much about it. I asked him for his blessing when I left the train, and I just was in awe of having been able to converse with that man.
Yeah.
He was on his way back to Greece. He was here. He had been here for a funeral. And then the last story I want to share is getting off the SkyTrain. I was now walking up towards the pastoral center, and I met a woman who asked me directions for Children's Hospital. And I said, actually, I'm walking that way. I'll walk with you, And so on the way, as we were walking, she told me about why she was going to Children's Hospital. And her son was there in a huge distress.
Okay.
And she got very emotional. And I might get emotional telling you this. But she in a very short time, she just allowed me to enter this mess that she and her son were in, her sons especially, and all this suffering. And when we came to the place where we were going to fork off and she was going that way, I asked her if I could pray over her. I said, I'm a Christian. I said, would you allow me to pray over you? And she said, yes. And so I put my hand on her shoulders and I prayed for her. So you just never know when God is going to ask you to show up as a disciple and what's going to be put in front of you. I was just open to that moment. I wanted to give her hope. I wanted to give her words of comfort. I wanted her to know that she's not alone. You know, I still pray for her, still pray for that woman and her son. But when you're a disciple, you can't take that coat off. You have to be able to step into those places. And God gave me the courage that day to do that, to be there for her. Again, it was a 10-minute walk.
Yeah.
And so evangelization doesn't have to be difficult or planned. I talk about this in the masterclass. Sometimes moments of evangelization are planned, but oftentimes they are very spontaneous. And so we have to just be ready to pour ourselves out as Jesus did.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. Beautiful stories. It all starts with a prayer in the morning.
Yes.
You give the Lord permission is really what I hear, right?
Yes.
And he honors you for that.
Yes.
And I'm confident that just these 3 stories are a blessing to our Proclaim listeners, certainly an inspiration for me to put myself at the service of the Lord and the mission every single day in prayer, and to recommit to being a disciple, to wear, or not to put on the coat, but to commit to being a disciple through and through in every aspect of our lives. Sue, this has been a wonderful conversation. I wish we could go on for more, and I think we can look at some other topics, and I'll bring you on for another episode. I want to give you the last word. What is something that you would love to encourage the Proclaim movement and to our Proclaim listeners?
Right. I just want to encourage you that evangelization takes practice, and there's going to be misses and near misses, and that's okay. The Holy Spirit can work with mess. I am a prime example of how many times I put my foot in my mouth, perhaps alienated people. But what's wonderful is our God is so much bigger than us, and so He can work with those messes. He can work with those mess ups. Don't rely on your own strength and knowledge to get you through these evangelization moments. Allow God's light and His saltiness to pour through you, and just to let Him guide the conversation. He will give you what you need to meet that person where they're at. Be real, be authentic. Don't fake it, because you can only give what you yourself know and have experienced. And when you pour yourself out, Jesus will absolutely do the rest. Just have trust in Him and have faith in Him.
Amen.
Amen.
Sue, thank you so much
You are
for
so
taking
welcome.
the time
This
to
has
be
been
on
fun.
podcast. And to all of our listeners, I hope that this was a blessing for you. Certainly it was a blessing for me just to be sitting across from Sue and hearing her stories and her wisdom and her insights. If this was something that was of value to you, I encourage you to share it with your ministry team, fellow disciples, your parish. Allow it to be a blessing to them as well. As always, please consider joining us in Proclaim through the various initiatives that we have, the trainings. Like us on all the different platforms that we're on, and follow us as well. And again, we put out these podcasts every couple of weeks, and I hope that they continue to be a blessing for you. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, and God bless you.